Hi, I'm Dana, and today I actually want to reflect a little bit on one of my past videos. If you haven't seen it, I'll link it somewhere now, you'll have a chance to see it. But quite a few months ago now, I made a video about how my therapist didn't think I was autistic. And long story short, in that video, I basically said that I didn't think it mattered. However, on reflection, I have quite a different opinion. And I didn't want to just leave that video floating around without any sort of continuation, I suppose, to explain how I feel about it now. You know, it's not a true representation of my opinion is what I'm saying there. You know, I'm okay with that, opinions shift and opinions grow, and I've learned more and educated myself and figured myself out a bit more. So my opinions changed, and I didn't want to just leave the old one without any sort of update. So basically, for any new viewers, I was incredibly lucky to be able to get 10 sessions at a time. I did have 2 rounds. So all in all, 20 sessions with a really great therapist. This is not a video of me tearing into that therapist. I was incredibly lucky to be able to get sessions that I didn't need to pay for because I can't afford to pay for them. And I also really liked my therapist. It was not a personal issue in any way. And despite the fact that how I feel about her methods has changed, I still think she's a lovely person and very, very knowledgeable in her field. This isn't shitting on her in any way. Of course, because I was speaking to a new therapist, I told her I'm diagnosed with anxiety, depression and autism, but I don't think the depression applies anymore because I think the depression that I did experience was autistic burnout. I'll be making a video about that too at some point, but it's not important for today. And my therapist very quickly told me that she didn't think I was autistic. And the reasons that she gave was but you're so smiley, you don't come across as awkward at all, you're maintaining eye contact. And I mean, first off, honey, we're on Zoom. I'm looking into a lens, I can manage that. I wouldn't look at your actual eyes, but I can look into the webcam of my laptop, you know? And also, I'm masking. Although I do go out of my way to be honest in therapy, because I don't think there's any point otherwise, it's a waste of my time and the therapist's time and the money of the funding and so on and so forth. So I really, really go out of my way to be honest. But I can't control the mask. You know, at the end of the day, this therapist is someone that I don't know. She was basically a stranger who I'm now disclosing my deepest, darkest heart secrets to. I was very uncomfortable throughout most of therapy. It's not enjoyable to me. I don't think anyone enjoys therapy. I don't know, maybe you do, valid, I don't care. But, you know, I just never felt truly comfortable, and especially when she was talking about hypnotherapy and stuff, I was there's no way I'm going to be able to relax enough for that, hon. So going forward with the rest of the sessions, we focused entirely on my anxiety and didn't really approach my autism again. And every now and again, I'd say, I think such and such is related to my autism, or I think such and such is related to my autism. And she'd be no, I think that's related to your anxiety or XYZ. And I'd be oh, okay. It's difficult to say that I think my therapist was wrong because I do think that she was incredibly knowledgeable in her field. I don't think that she was some idiot that just gets stuff wrong. But at the same time, I'm very comfortable in the fact that I am autistic, you know? It's very obvious to me that I'm autistic. The way that my brain works is very autistic. I've got my official diagnosis. I'm very certain I'm autistic, okay? And having her tell me no, such and such isn't connected to that, I started trying to work harder on some of what I now think are autistic traits. And I was working really, really hard to try and beat them or conquer them or get over them. And, you know, that's not helpful. If certain things were exclusive to my anxiety and not at all to do with my autism, that'd be fine. But by completely disregarding my autism, we were focusing on autistic traits and things that I don't necessarily need to change. I think it's very dangerous to fall into the box of well, this is my autistic trait and I don't have to change it. Because if it's damaging to you or the people around you, or if it's something that doesn't add benefit to your life, you should work to change it. And you should work to change it in a way that is safe and comfortable and gonna be healthy. Which isn't what I was able to do when I was thinking that it was my anxiety. Having a medical professional doubt my autism also gave me an extra degree of imposter syndrome that I really didn't need. It was right around the time that I was first becoming more involved in the autism community and speaking to more autistic people. And I felt like a fraud. I still have times when I speak to some of my autistic friends and I'm just oh shit, what if I'm like lying to them? What if I'm not even autistic? I'm just this like neurotypical dickhead that's like come into their space and started taking over. And like I say, most of the time I'm very sure and confident that I am autistic. So it really sucked to be given that self-doubt again. And it made me feel like a bad person to the people that I was interacting with who thought I was autistic when I am, and that's fine. But it made me feel like I was being a bad person. It made me feel like I was forcing myself in a community that I didn't belong in for a little bit. And the other side of that is that it worries me that maybe at some point she's going to be speaking to a woman who thinks that she might be autistic and who is autistic, and she's going to be like, oh no honey, you're not autistic, you need to like look for something else. And we all know it's pretty common that women get misdiagnosed with depression or anxiety or many other mental health conditions rather than autism, and that's only going to add to it. And then there's also just the fact that I'm autistic. My brain doesn't work like a neurotypical person's does. So doing therapy with me that's aimed at neurotypical brains isn't going to actually be all that helpful. And I'd be a liar if I said that I didn't find the therapy sessions really helpful, because I really did. You know, I wouldn't be speaking about her as kindly as possible despite saying that she's wrong if it weren't that I do feel like I benefited from many of them. But there was a negative side to it, and especially when it's something I've already discussed and plays into autism, and I'm trying to do this whole like autism advocacy, it feels like something I need to talk about. I was going through a therapy that was aimed at a neurotypical brain. So whereas she might have great success with her neurotypical patients when she says to them like, well, explain exactly what you're anxious about, that ate up most of my session, and she looked a bit overwhelmed. Like, it was a lot. And then her saying to me like, but why would any of that happen? And I'm like, because it has. And she was surprised. She was like, oh, it has. And I was like, yeah, like, I do have some anxieties that are completely irrational. Like, if my boyfriend's like 25 minutes late home from work and he hasn't called me, I'm like, oh God, he's been pushed in front of the train. You know, like, some of them are completely irrational, I will give that. But the vast majority of them, especially when it comes to social situations, I'm scared of people rejecting me or shouting at me or being really rude to me or being really mean to me, because that stuff's happened. You know, it's not some like irrational thing where like everyone I've ever come across has actually been really lovely and I just have this stupid anxiety that they're gonna be mean. It's that I've been consistently faced with like mean, rude, horrible people over and over again who tear me to fucking shreds and destroy what little self-confidence I do have. And I really don't want it to happen again. And I'm not a therapist, I don't know anything about the brain. So I don't know that it is a case of neurotypicals experience anxiety differently, or they have more irrational anxieties. I don't know, but that's sure how it seems. And I think one of the main things that I really felt the need to say is that I no longer believe that my anxiety isn't tied into my autism. Like, I really did think they were very, very separate, and now I really, really don't. Because like I say, I'm anxious of predominantly things that have happened to me. And those things have happened to me because I'm autistic. It's because people thought I was weird, or people thought I was odd, or whatever else, you know. 9 times out of 10, when people have been rude or mean, it's because of some sort of autistic trait that I have. So if I didn't have autism and didn't have autistic traits, I don't think I'd have anxiety, or at least not to the degree that I do. And not only that, but I think it's also part of being autism that my brain sort of looks for the most logical conclusion to anything. And from my experiences, it seems like the most logical conclusion is that people are probably going to be mean or rude or nasty in some way. You know, the logical conclusion from my experiences is that things don't go the way that I want them to. I'm not left feeling happier or joyous or glad to have had social interaction. I feel really bad because of it. And then so many of the things I get anxious about as well are due to not knowing what to do in that situation because I'm autistic. I don't know how I'm supposed to have small talk with a cashier in a shop. I don't know how people have a little bit of banter when they're getting on the bus, because all I can think about is like, shit, have I got the right amount of change? How do I tell them what kind of ticket do I want? Do I tell them like the street that I'm going to? What's happening in this situation? You know, all of these things that seem very just automatic to a lot of neurotypical people, I have to really, really think about. And obviously that makes me anxious. You know, and then take some of my other autistic traits. Like, I really, really need routine. It's really difficult to like create myself a routine. It's near impossible. So when I don't have routine, I then get really anxious for like no reason. It's because I don't have routine, but it seems silly that I'm anxious because I didn't wake up at the right time, or my boyfriend didn't leave for work at the right time or whatever. It seems like it's nothing, but that's ruined my whole routine for the day, and then I'm having a whole day of being anxious. And when my therapist would be like, oh, why are you anxious? Because my routine's broken. Well, can't you just carry on with the rest of it? No, because it's gone. It's not there. I can't do my routine when part of it's been broken. I have to like wait for tomorrow when it's been reset. And that was all stuff where she just sort of glazed over and didn't want to acknowledge like, oh, that's a very autistic trait, isn't it? She just ignored that. But you know, it's very much the more that I've gotten to know myself and the more that I've gotten to know how my autism works and how my anxiety works and how I just work in general as a person, the more it's all come together, the more it seems very, very obvious to me that my anxiety and autism absolutely are connected, if not almost one and the same. And that's not to say that I'll always be anxious, I hope. Like I said before, I think it's very, very important to work on things that are making you unsatisfied with life, regardless of what they are. So even if my anxiety is an autistic trait, I still need to work on that in the same way that I still want to work on being more social and having more friends and whatever else. You know, it's okay to work on traits and actions and the like when it's you that wants to work on them. When it's some parent deciding they don't want their autistic kid to act in a certain way, that's a whole nother boat. But when it's like, I don't want to be anxious forever. I don't want to feel like I'm about to have a heart attack every time I step out the door, or feel my heart leap into my mouth any time anyone invites me anywhere to do anything. I don't want to feel like that forever, so I need to work on that, even if it is an autistic trait. And even things that are definitely autistic traits, like, I was gonna say making eye contact. I don't give two shits about eye contact. But I do want to be better at socialising with people. I do want to be able to make and maintain friendships, you know? And the things that make those difficult are autistic traits, but I still gotta work on them. I think in a lot of ways I'm still very much learning to accept myself as an autistic person, and I'm also learning a lot of like the stereotypes and negative thoughts that I had about autistic people and people with disabilities in general. You know, I've been raised not knowing that I'm disabled. I personally feel very comfortable calling myself disabled because I do feel like my autism disables me in the general world. I know not everyone considers autism to be a disability. I'm not trying to put that onto anyone else. I'm just using it for me. I was raised not knowing that I was disabled. So the general ableist things that are a part of the abled community all sank into me somewhere, you know, whether they're right at the forefront or subconscious, they're all in there. So I've been having to learn and unlearn lots and lots of different things. It can already be so difficult for autistic people to accept and appreciate ourselves. And I just think it's a very sort of negative mindfuck to have someone that you trust and who's a medical professional completely disregard a medical diagnosis you've been given. Like I said, I do really like the therapist that I had, but I don't feel like that was the best decision she's ever made. But you know, it's also taught me that I'm more sure of myself than I thought, I guess. This video was definitely more so for me than anyone else. I just felt very uncomfortable having opinions that I don't agree with floating around without any sort of disclosure of like, I don't agree with this anymore. So I feel a lot better for having filmed this, and I think I'll feel really good once it's up. It felt necessary to me. That being said, thank you very much for watching. It still really weirds me out that people are watching my videos. I've been making videos for such a long time and no one ever cared, and it's bizarre but really, really nice. So thank you a lot for watching. If you liked this video, please remember to like and subscribe. Have I got anything else to say? No, I think we're good. So I hope you have a nice day, evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are. And I'll see you in a couple of days.